Hi, this is Savannah Saunders from the Wonderful World of Dance, and I have just got back from Sadler's Wells for the premiere of Alexander Whitley's dance company's performance of 8 minutes. And I thought I would do something different. I thought I would sort of talk about the evening and give a bit of an overview of the performance rather than writing a review, although I might still write one. So I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Alex about 8 minutes a few weeks ago, and you can listen to the podcast on iTunes or just have a look on the website for it. It's a really interesting conversation. Actually, Alex is a very sort of he's eloquent, deeply considered. He's very intellectual. It is a really interesting insight into his approach to choreography and very his interest in subject matters that are outside of the traditional dance realm. And I think 8 minutes, which is very much about the sun, it's about science, it is about the universe and space, is a very clear indication of the types of subject matters which interest him, and also the that influence his work as well, because I think from memory he spent about quite some time actually researching and working in collaboration with a scientific centre and with a scientist. He also collaborated with this incredible lighting designer and a composer as well for the incredible music. So they, just to name the collaboration team, you've got Alexander Whitley, who's the artistic director and choreographer, the video artist who produced fantastic visual imagery about space and about the universe, which was just really, really visually spectacular. In fact, it was full screen and includes lights and video, and it had it just had these incredible images. I almost don't want to ruin it, but so the video artist is Tao Rothner. The music that was composed was by Daniel Wall, I think that's how you pronounce his name. And the music was, interestingly, it was very, for me, it was very deep. It was quite, for me, I found it almost an emotional melancholy in its exploration of the subject matter of the sun, the energy, um, the space and universe, and the science around that. So there were moments where of this collision between sort of classical and electronic music, and together with this beautiful visuals, these full stage size visuals of the sun and of elements and of graphics, was just really quite intense. They worked with the scientist from STFC RAL space in Oxfordshire, which I clearly probably didn't name correctly, but with a fantastic scientist called Dr. Hugh Mortimer, and a cast of 7 really incredible dancers who I thought actually their physical ability was sensational. They were required through this piece, which is 60 minutes long, to be on stage almost for the entire time. The piece has 11 different sections, and each one of those sections has a varied choreography and has an element for each of those choreographic sections, against a changing visual backdrop and an audio backdrop as well. There were the dancers and their movement. There was a lot of it was, for me, it started with this stunning opening. There, it was all dark, and then the light sort of fused up softly on these pairs and individuals, dancers, who looked like they were parts of a molecule or a part of a particle, either two parts um, or as one. And the way in which the lighting sort of captured them softly, and their movements sort of folding around each other, and their arms folding out, and they were swirling around and rising and falling. To me, it really felt like I was watching almost like a nuclei, or two parts of a particle that would come apart and come back together and expand and contract and react together. And it was really a beautiful opening. And throughout the pieces that gradually went through the 11 sections, the dancers, their movement changed in each of those sections in response to the music and to the soundtrack. And so you had sections where, or there was a fantastic pas de deux or duet, which was really wonderful. They had this one section which I thought was just absolute brilliance. I thought this was a real moment of seeing Alex's real choreographic brilliance in there. It was a section where the dancers, all seven, were on stage, and against this very luminous, I think it was a yellow background from memory, they were quite dark in how they looked with that sort of lighting lit on the dancers. Their movements was rapid, almost like a time-lapse, jagged, twitchy movement, and it looked as if the dancers were enacting this, going through the motions in this rapid time-lapse, fast-forward, twitching succession of, from day to night and through all of the motions of that day, really, really sped up. And I thought it was just so brilliant, actually. I was completely and utterly enthralled at that particular point. It was a really, really effective piece. And one of the things which I really liked was after the show, Sadler's Wells put on a post-show talk, which had Alistair Spalding, the artistic director and chief executive of Sadler's Wells, on stage with the creative team that I mentioned, plus their dramaturge, whose name I don't have. But it was a really interesting discussion, and they talked about their different roles and how they worked and collaborated together, and some of it was done, transatlantically, for the composer who couldn't be in the UK throughout the entire collaboration process. And it was just really interesting for me again. I'd heard Alex obviously speak when he and I had our discussion, which was, I think, a good 40 minutes actually, but it's a fantastic discussion. But I think giving the audience an opportunity to hear from the choreographer and hear from the choreographic team really gives a greater appreciation for the work, and to understand and to test your own interpretation of that work, and to understand the genesis, or how the work is developed, what the influences are, how they approached, or why the elements around there was some incredible narration, why the music was selected or created as it was, and how the process around selecting and creating the imagery influenced the choreographic process, and vice versa, how that interaction worked with a team which needed to come together to produce one work. So I thought that was really fantastic. And one of the really good things which I thought works well, that Sadler's always does, is they open up the questions to the audience, and the questions from the audience are quite illuminating. And I have to say, it made me think about the types of questions that I prepare in advance and ask during the interviews that I do. There was a woman who said she was from a scientific background, and she reflected, interestingly, that the collaboration that was being described on stage about the the creative process was very much reflective of how the scientific community collaborates in their scientific endeavours. And that sparked a really interesting response from Dr. Hugh Mortimer, who talked about the experience as a scientist of working in this collaborative team and having the privilege and seeing of being part or seeing the choreographic process of Alex working with the dancers to create the work. And he was reflecting back that actually there was so many commonalities between how the scientific community approaches a project or a piece of endeavor. In the same way, it's very, very similar to how the dance world approaches creating new work, in that scientists or scientists will hypothesize, they will test theories, they will undertake research, observations, they will eventually draw a conclusion. In the same way that the choreographic process starts off with an idea, a hypothesis about the work and what's to be created, test that with the dancers, the choreographer, the other creative other creative team members and their elements, and work through testing those ideas and then come to a conclusion, which is the work which we see on stage. So I thought that was a really interesting discussion and a really interesting observation from the science community about the commonalities between science and dance. And throughout there's this narration by, I think, I will have to just quickly check because I took note of an artist, sorry, of a, I think a philosopher, or let me just quickly check. I think it was Alan Watts, what's his name? There was this great, I think he's a scientist who, there was some narration overlaid on the performance, and through that he talks about science, or I think it was about the sun and space and the universe, and through that narration he talks about dance in relation to the sun and science, and which was really interesting because Alex was saying afterwards that actually that was only, the narration was only inserted at someone else's suggestion pretty much only like a week or so before the premiere, and he found that the narration was so perfectly in tune with the subject matter that he was exploring around the sun, the universe and space and science, but also about how he can sort of test the boundaries, or how he likes to test the boundaries of the physical abilities or one's body, and through this piece exploring the impact on the sun on the body and the energy and space and universe, which you can see through each of his 11 pieces, where you can see where the sun, where the space, the energy, the tempo, and the interaction of the dancers changes throughout each of those sections. It's really quite effective, actually. I was really, really drawn into this piece, and I think it was really interesting for me because to see this work, because obviously I've spoken with Alex in the past, but actually I wasn't very familiar with his work. I hadn't seen this piece, and so having researched and prepared for the conversation that I had with him, which was a little while ago now, and then seeing his piece tonight, and then seeing the post-show talk and listening to and hearing from the rest of the collaborative team, the creative team, was a really sort of fantastic experience to be able to see all the elements. And it was it was really quite meaningful, actually. And I think the ability for the audience to be able to hear from the creative team is really important, because I think it gives a greater appreciation for the work, and you're able to test your own um, sense of what you thought the work was about, or how you felt from the work, as to what the artists were trying to convey through their work. What were the messages, and did you receive those? And does that even matter if you didn't, or if you received them and felt or experienced that differently? So I have to say that I think through tonight's piece really gave an insight into some of the brilliance in Alex's choreography, and definitely intrigues me to see more of his work, and particularly these dancers who are fantastic. And there's only 7 of them, and they were fantastic. So I'll just show you a little bit of the program. So, which is, look at the visuals, it's just absolutely amazing. And then you can see some of this here was really beautiful, sort of quite close floor work. It was just lovely. And then again, there's some more of the visuals, which you can see there, which is a very, very powerful piece. So anyway, I thought I'd just do a little bit of a wrap up of Alexander Whitley's 8 Minutes at Sadler's Wells. It's on only tomorrow night, the 28th of June. So if you haven't got your tickets, go book one, sadlerswells.com. And if you can't get to the show, check out Alex's website and have a look at his work. And I think definitely one to watch out for in the future. Okay, it's about 11:15 after the show and the post-show discussion. Time for me to head to bed. So hope this has been interesting. Thanks very much. See ya.